It's time for Tiger Talk on the Tiger Sports Network. Tiger Talk, live from the Golden Q in Hayes. The Golden Q, dining, billiards, and a whole lot more. 2 blocks east of campus. The Golden Q. If the game is on, we're open. Tiger Talk is also brought to you by these premier Tiger sponsors. Golden Belt Bank of Hayes and Alice, banking one story at a time. The Hayes Med Orthopedic Institute, expertise, technology, and compassion, all right here. Adams Brown, strategic allies and CPAs. BTI, your John Deere dealer in Buckland, Great Bend, Greensburg, Hoxie, Ness City, and Pratt. BTI, our family in partnership with your family. The Taco Shop, dine-in, carry-out, or delivery. You've never had it so good. G&L Tire and Automotive, complete automotive service and repair, and tires for all driving needs.
And a good Tuesday afternoon. Welcome into Tiger Talk. Gerard Wellbrock with you. We are live at the Golden Q in Hayes. We'll be talking Fort Hays State softball with Adrian Pilkington and baseball with Jared Goodale. Our final program here for the spring sports season as we close out the month of April. 1 weekend left of conference play and regular season play for the Tigers as they will wrap it up. Softball will be on the road. Baseball will be at home against Central Missouri. We'll preview all of that, talk about this last week, look ahead a little bit as well. Tiger Talk, again, brought to you by the Golden Q. They've got their daily drink and food specials. Of course, the burger of the month, always a popular item here, plus a great menu selection. And, of course, if the game's on, they're open. A little MLB Network on today. So if we get distracted, you'll understand why as we watch highlights from last night. But good to have you aboard here on our final Tiger Talk of the season. And with that, we bring in the head softball coach at Fort Hays State, Adrian Pilkington. Tigers 1-3 at home this last weekend. Tough weekend. Newman on Friday. And then Central Oklahoma, the fourth-ranked team in the country, on Saturday, and got off to a good start. You won game one of the doubleheader, 10-2, and boy, just a tough one in the second game. Had a big inning, got it to within one, but ended up losing 6-5. And boy, that second game was obviously a tough one. You had a great comeback, had some chances, just couldn't quite get the door done. And with UCO coming in the next day, you had a feeling that was going to be a difficult loss for your squad.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we played 3 really competitive games, and one just obviously got away from us, but it was tough going in after run ruling Newman game 1 and then coming out. I felt like we were just a little bit too lax on the defense to start the game, and it's just, again, you got to getting it through to these kids that you have to play every pitch, and you can't take moments off. It's kind of tough, and it was something that we obviously couldn't overcome there towards the end.
First game was really a good game. Scoreless through 2. You're batting bottom of the third, and man, the bats come alive. You get 5 runs, and really that was the ball game. You had a couple of more in the 6th to get the run rule win, but it was good to see the team string some hits together and just really come up with big play after big play in that big inning.
Yeah, I feel like our bats are starting to come around, and they have been for the last couple weeks. We've been stringing them together a little bit better, and every once in a while coming up with a timely bigger hit, a double or a home run. So that part was nice. It was good to see that really throughout the weekend. Even in our losses, I felt like we put some good hitting together. So that's a positive coming out of the week for us.
And what you had to like in that 5-run third, it all came with 2 outs. In fact, I think all the runs in that game came with 2 outs, but you got the big 2-run single from Lauren Beggs to get you on the board, because there's been so many times you've had those chances, didn't get that big hit, it goes scoreless, and then who knows, but you got the big hit, and it kind of opened the door for everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously always love to see those innings get extended and have some positive come out of those, and I think we got a little bit it was just a little contagious there in that stretch, and did some good things to kind of just set that tone early on.
And it's sent your winning streak to 6. That's been the longest since you've been the head coach. Had a couple of 5-game win streaks, so it was good to see this team string some things together, and hopefully now they know what it takes, and even though they came back and lost the next 3, but you got to feel for it and knows what it takes to get on those rolls like that.
Yeah, and I think we just are kind of landing in some of the right spots in the lineup when we're needing those runs driven in right now. It's landing on some kids that are doing a good job with run production and sacrifice flies or timely hitting, things like that we're doing a little bit better job of, just playing a little bit of textbook softball on the offensive side of the game.
And then you really got some solid pitching. Boy, Savannah Egger was good. 2 runs, both unearned, 5 hits, 6 strikeouts, 0 walks. And it was obviously the weather was a gigantic factor in that game. It was as bad as it's ever been. And no walks. I think in a day like that is so important.
Yeah, it's definitely it just shows her pitching more efficiently. Producing the outs that we needed her to, getting ahead in the counts and not letting them work them near as much. You just don't give them near as much flexibility as hitters. And they had a good hitting squad. I mean, that was definitely their strength going into the game, and I felt like she handled them well.
Well, did a good job. Got the victory, her 9th of the year. Tigers took that opener 10-2, and then we kind of touched on it. Lose the nightcap 6-5. Each got a run in the first, and they found a way to score a couple in the second. Got 3 more in the third. You go to the pen and shut the door the rest of the way. Just couldn't quite to get the bats totally going. You had the 1 inning, you scored 4, but just couldn't quite get over the hump in that one.
Yeah, just like I said, I just felt like kind of early on mistakes were kind of what ended up biting us there at the end. And we had a run and we had a chance. We just couldn't obviously overcome that deficit. So, disappointing loss for us as a team.
Their starter, Megan Walls, did well for a while, but then you seem to figure her out a little bit. End up giving up the 5 runs on 7 hits, but they bring the Gutierrez girl out of the bullpen. She had pitched a little bit in game 1, and she made enough good pitches to hold you at bay.
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple well hit balls. It felt like that day everything that we hit well was what didn't fall, and then the stuff that we mishit was what fell. I mean, it was just the wind was just brutal, and again, squaring up the ball, it's kind of sailing right at them, and they played us tighter in the outfield where I felt like we had a couple hits to right field that normally would have landed in as singles or maybe even snuck a double if you're not hitting it directly into the wind. But it's hard. You have to try to pump up the kids and give them positives in those situations, because just because it was a windy day and it wasn't a hit doesn't mean it's not a hit any other day.
Yeah, you want to hit the ball hard, but you're right. I think that obviously I'm not a science guy, but I'm guessing you could probably find some physics. But when the ball's not hit as hard, I mean, the wind's going to affect it more. There's going to be more movement because it seemed like when you squared one up, the wind would affect it, but not nearly as much. I mean, you could tell the balls that got hit hard, didn't move as much.
No, they didn't. And it felt like, their right fielder was just standing 10, 15 feet behind the second baseman. So, like I said, I think we hit about 3 or 4 square balls to right field that, it just went right to her just because we hit them hard enough and they were playing so shallow with the wind that, just normally I think we drive in our runs there, and we just didn't get lucky enough to do that.
And I think I mentioned it a few times during the broadcast. Concentration for everybody had to be difficult. I mean, we're in a press box and we're not out in the wind, but it's still, you hear the wind, you feel it shaking, the windows are moving around. I mean, it wears on you. How difficult is it to have that concentration through 2 games like that when the conditions are so brutal?
Yeah, it's not just mentally or physically exhausting. It's mentally exhausting, and it's just so non-traditional. We talked to the infield about, hey, if a ball goes up, you almost need to turn around like a catcher would and then try to track that in. That way you're not, chasing it inward towards the infield. You're at least able to back up and stay behind the ball, which is just so unorthodox and not something you teach, but that's what we kind of had to try to do, and sometimes we were successful with it and other times we weren't.
Yeah, I saw Lauren do that third a lot where the balls popped up and she was squaring up and tracked a few down, but couldn't quite get them all. But yeah, it was a unique day to say the least, as the Tigers get the split with the Newman Jets. That set up a big doubleheader with the conference then leaders. They fell from the lead after losing 1 game up in Kearney, but still a good team, the Central Oklahoma Broncos. And we'll talk about that doubleheader when we return. Tiger Talk today brought to you again by Golden Belt Bank. They're in Hayes and Ellis. They're here to make every story shine brighter. It's the way they do banking, one story at a time. You can check them out at goldenbeltbank.com. TigerTalk.com. We've got more Tiger Talk from the Golden Q right after the break here on the Tiger Sports Network, built by Paul Wertenberger Construction. And the 3-2 pitch. Line drive, center field, it's in for a base hit. 1 run will score. Here comes Kelly around third. She will score. It's a 2-out, 2-run single for Lauren Beggs, and the Tigers have a 2-0 lead here in the bottom of the third. Yeah, that got the Tigers going in that 5-run third inning on Friday. They go on to win game 1 of that doubleheader 10-2, dropped to nightcap 6-5 as they then face the number 4 team in the country, the Broncos of Central Oklahoma. UCO winning both 19-2 and 8-3 for the sweep, and 19-2. We've talked before this program started. Haven't been a part of many of those for a long time. Maybe not quite that bad. It's one of those games, a good team, and they got on a roll. And sometimes it's hard to stop that train. Yeah,
I mean, it was a potent offense that you had to face, and it wasn't just 1 through 5 like a lot of them. This was 1 through 9, and they just kept the pressure on and extended a lot of innings, did a lot of 2-out hitting, and we just kind of struggled to close that door on them.
4 home runs in the game, and Savannah pitched so well the day before, and as you said, this was a bit of a different beast, which hopefully good experience for your young staff to face that type of hitting and now learn, make adjustments, and when that occasion comes up again, they'll be a little bit more prepared for it, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, she's young and she's just got to learn and grow. Sometimes you got to grow more from the horrible losses than you do the successful games. So I think there's a lot of learning to do. It's just you got to understand how to approach hitters that are that good and that are going to battle that well, and understand that you got to get ahead and you got to mix right and you got to throw your off speed for strikes. So there's a lot to take home. I mean, it's just that they're really solid hitting offense, and that's about all you can say about it.
And I guess then the counter side of that, obviously, you didn't have the offense to try to match it early at least and hang around in that game when it was still a ball game, and credit to their pitching, which seems like they've always – they find a way to be solid in the circle every single year.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And, I mean, I felt like we got some decent barrels on her, and, sometimes we just hit it right at people, and they're just so solid that they're going to make those tough plays, and, we just couldn't quite get anything going.
Game 2, a different story. You had the early lead, scored a couple in the first inning, and, boy, it was right there until that 5th. They score 7 runs. That ends up being the difference in the ball game. Obviously disappointing because up until then, it was a great bounce back by your squad. They played well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they could have shut down pretty easily after that first game, but they just and they didn't shut down in the first game. They went out there and they battled and they made their outs and they worked hard, and we bounced back well. I felt like we made some good plays in that game. I felt like we got off to a decent start offensively, of course, but I think the difference is that they got a little bit of momentum, and like I mentioned to you earlier, it's just the few hits that they got in that game to load those bases were just kind of dinks that they got over or got through the infield, and then it just shows you how one solid hit can change the game. So it just was unfortunately one tough pitch for Bailey Carlson. She threw a really good game outside of that, and I guess if you can look back on your body of work and say, hey, I made one mistake in the game, then that's a lot of positive for a freshman to build off of. And I think really it was probably pretty good for her confidence after seeing game 1 and the score kind of get out of hand, and then she has to go in there. I mean, she could have been easily intimidated, and I don't feel like she did that. I think she just went out there and worked pitch to pitch and, tried to give us a chance on the offensive side, get us off of the defense and give us chances to go up there and swing the bat.
Yeah, the 4 straight singles in that 5th inning, and then you got an out, got another single, a walk, and then the big blow was the grand slam home run by Skipworth. But as you said, they really did a pretty good job and baseball, softball, it can be a frustrating game in that sense. You get those little bleeders that find their way through, and it just builds.
I think that's the more frustrating part about it is I felt like she pitched contact and give us balls that we could play, and they just had just enough on them to just sneak over or, flare them over or through. And so it's just like, you want her to feel good about that. That's soft contact. That's, you're doing your job. You're giving us a chance. And then again, it was just one tough pitch. I think the only other thing that you could try to, reiterate to her is with that walk, it was just a kid we needed to go at and try to get an out there. And then we end up having to throw to the hot hitter with the bases loaded. So it's just, it's a learning curve for them. But I actually was pretty proud of her the way she went out there and was poised on the mound and threw that game for us.
Jessica Espinoza had a good weekend at the plate. I think she had 2 hits in all but one of the games. We had a triple in that first game against Newman on Friday, really swinging the bat well, doing what you want your leadoff batter to do.
Yeah, she's done a good job, and she knows the pitches that she wants, and she's done a better job as of late battling off the pitches she doesn't want and being able to protect herself as a hitter up there. So she's done a nice job of being able to especially convert when she's down in the count. She's had a lot of 2-strike hits, and that's impressive for any hitter.
We're at the bottom of the hour. Let's squeeze in 10 seconds for station identification. This is Tiger Talk on the Tiger Sports Network, built by Paul Wertenberger Construction.
Whether it's beer, wine, or spirits, pick up a winner at either of the 2 convenient Kaiser Liquor locations in Hayes. Kaiser Liquor and 14 KEYS Hayes.
We're back at the Golden Q. Gerard Wellbrock, head softball coach Adrian Pilkington. Our final Tiger Talk here, the 2021-22 school year. We certainly appreciate all the questions we've had emailed into us. We'll have that feature again for you next year, and boy, can't wait for the new season to start as well. Right now, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll preview the final weekend of the regular season for the Tigers on the road down in Oklahoma. Northeastern State and Rogers State are the 2 opponents. We'll talk about that and more on Tiger Talk right here on the Tiger Sports Network, built by Paul Wertenberger Construction.
Fact: 8th Street Liquor is where good times start. Next fact: 8th Street Liquor has the best selection and prices on beer, liquor, and wine. Okay, I don't want to bore you with all the facts, but the fact of the matter is, you just can't get better than 8th Street Liquor. Yep, 8th Street Liquor, where good times start. That's the fact. Jack? Oh yes, they have plenty of Jack too.
Tiffany at second with 2 outs. Tigers have scored 3 and lead at 3-0. Here's the 3-1 pitch. Line drive by the shortstop and into center field. That will score 1. Throw to home, not in time, and now moving to second will be Curry with the 2-run single. And it's 5-0 Tigers here in the third. Yeah, part of that big inning was Fort Hays State ended up winning in Game 1. We're back live at the Golden Q for Tiger Talk, which is brought to you by G&L Tire and Automotive. Join them for their 25 days of savings here in the month of April. Time running out, though. They're celebrating their 25 years of business. G&L Tire and Automotive on the bricks in downtown Hayes. It's also brought to you today by the Hayes Orthopedic Institute. Expertise, technology, and compassion, all right here. That's the Hayes Orthopedic Institute. They're the official team physicians for Fort Hays State Athletics. Haven't mentioned it yet, but you did honor your seniors. Didn't have a lot to go through, which I guess is sad in one way, exciting in another, but you got to honor your seniors, and boy, they've obviously gone through a lot in their time here at Fort Hays State.
Yeah, well, first off, I'm glad that I didn't have to honor as many as I did last year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The lesser number
that
for
was
me
probably
right now
sadder.
feels better, just less recruiting and a little bit less to work with there. So, proud of those kids and the contributions that they've made, and, just in itself, the fact that you completed 4 years of softball or any sport for that matter is an accolade that maybe is under-recognized because there's a lot of kids that don't make it that long and that far. It's a big commitment. It's a lot of work, and those kids have been a big part of our program since they joined.
Well, you now go on the road. You have your final series of the regular season, doubleheader Friday at Rogers State, another nationally ranked foe. They're having a great season. They knocked you off in the first round of the tournament last year in that best-of-3 series. Northeastern State also having a good year. Obviously, it's going to take a lot. You're going to have to play well. You're going to need some help to get into the conference tournament. I would guess you just go in there and just be loose and free and have some fun and play softball.
Yeah, I mean, we know what we're going to face with them. We know what they have, and they live and die on their pitching. So, and they've dropped a couple games here recently. So, maybe we're catching them on a stretch where they're not playing quite as well. But both good teams. It seems like that's the case with almost every MIAA team. There's not a bad one that you can look by, and that shows. I think we just got to go out there and play like we got nothing to lose. I mean, that's, you put it all on the line and know that, when you untie your cleats that day, that you gave it everything you got.
Well, it'd be nice. Hopefully you can find a way to get to Edmond in the conference tournament. Who knows? We'll see. Obviously, with that, it's going to take a lot of things to go your way. But with this being the last program, and we've talked about it, so many young players, and not just young players, but young players who contributed, got a lot of great experience. As you take a look at what you have coming back, what are the areas you're going to relay to them when you have your exit interviews and meetings for them to work on between now and when you guys get cranked back up next year?
I think now moving forward for these young kids, they played so many games for us, and it's hard to consider them freshmen or young kids in the program anymore when you've played 56 games. So we need them to step up and kind of play a leadership role and understand what the expectation is. Honestly, it's frustrating that we're at the point of we're going down to our last few games to just try to squeak in and make it in, and I feel like we're a better team than that, and so I feel like that needs to be our expectation going forward. We're not competing for the last spot, we're competing for the top spots, and I think we're good enough to do that. It's just it kind of caught us at a bad time. We dropped some games early that we shouldn't, but I mean, these kids, there's a lot of positive to go forward with this group. A lot of good players. I feel like we're in contention for a lot of all conference honors, more than we have been in the past. There's a lot of good players that are getting looks and doing good things, so we just have to continue to move forward and build on that, and we have a solid base. We just need to supplement in with a few more players.
How does it work with softball? Because, there's the Hayes Larks in town, so there's a lot of opportunities for baseball players in the summer to play. Is it similar in softball? How does it work for softball?
It's really not a lot of opportunities. They just are trying to start a Sunflower League here in Kansas. They kind of tried to fire one up a couple years ago, like right after the COVID season, so the kids could play in Kansas City. I guess the problem and the disparity there is the fact that, they're creating these opportunities, but they're asking the kids to pay for them. And it's not where, the baseball guys, they have host families and, they have a lot of, different opportunities that doesn't necessarily come out of their pocket or mom and dad's pocket. So I think yes, we're appreciative of the opportunities. There's not a lot of them out there, but the few that there are, it's just hard when the kids are paying for school. They're having to work jobs in the summer, and they don't, they probably, a lot of them can't really afford to join the league and have a job and, accommodate for all that if they have to take some classes or anything else. So, for us, I think it's just a fitness level, and I think it's okay for them to have some time off. It's necessary. It really is. But it's just they have to kind of maintain a level of fitness and just a baseline as they come forward and get ready to come into the fall.
All right, well, some interesting stuff there. We'll see if maybe there are more opportunities in the future for them as we move along. Coach, as always, we appreciate it. Appreciate all your time this year and joining us on the program. And hopefully you find a way to squeak in and we get to do some games down at Edmond next weekend or in a couple of weeks. But we appreciate you being here on this spring portion of Tiger Talk.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us.
There you go. That is Adrian Pilkington, coach of the Tigers. Again, they'll be in Claremore to face Rogers State for 2 on Friday, and then off to Tahlequah for 2 against Northeastern State on Saturday. Tiger Talk is brought to you by BTI. They're your John Deere dealer. Locations in Buckland, Great Bend, Greensburg, Hoxie, Ness City, and Pratt. BTI, our family, in partnership with your family. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll shift gears and talk some baseball. Jared Goodale joins us right after this. You're listening to Tiger Talk on the Tiger Sports Network, built by Paul Wurtenberger Construction.
Ready to discover something new? The next time you're in your car, tune your radio to 94.3 FM.
It's here.
It's Hayes' greatest hits.
Love it.
On 1400 KAYS and 94.3 FM.
94.3 FM, KAYS. Go ahead, check us out.
And welcome back to Tiger Talk. We're live at the Golden Q here on this Tuesday, final show of the year. We certainly appreciate everybody who's joined us, who's chimed in with questions. Looking forward to next season as well. The Golden Q, thank you to these guys. They've been awesome hosts, and hopefully we're back here for the program next year. Brought to you in part by the Taco Shop, dine-in, carry-out, or delivery. You've never had it so good with the Taco Shop. Jared Goodale joins us now, head baseball coach at Fort Hays State. Tigers swept in Maryville over the weekend. And sounds like a broken record. You had one blowout. You had one you were right there. Could have gone either way. You lose. And one you probably felt you should have won maybe. And that's kind of been the story all season long.
Yeah, I was thinking about that just before we got on. It was you nailed that a long time ago, and every time before the show I'd think about, man, that another one just like that.
Yeah. We'll start with Friday night. You lose 6-1, and it was a game which they had the 2-0 lead. It was 2-1, and they got a couple of tack-on runs late for the margin. I mean, you were right there, just couldn't seem to get the big hit and get a whole lot going against their starter Spitzmiller, who went the distance.
Yeah, he did a good job. He was he was a typical Friday night guy in the league, and he got going, and it was good. It was probably the windiest game we've played in all year, and maybe one of the windier ones ever I've played in, and we've played in some windy ones. So it definitely added a challenge offensively to both teams. We're right there with, it's a 2-1 game, and I think in the sixth, I think they had a guy on third with one out, had the infield in, ground ball to the third baseman, and guy gets in a rundown. He's directing traffic, and somehow we screwed up, and not only does he not go back to the third base, he ends up scoring, and then the guy that hit it gets on and gets to second, but we had a chance to get out of that inning with a zero, and it definitely changed the trajectory of the game. You got to be able to execute right there, and in a one-run game, and we would have given ourselves a chance, but then they ended up getting two there. Kind of the story, we just couldn't get off the field with two outs. They got some big two-out hits, and then same thing in the seventh, and then we could just never get anything going on their starter. He ended up going 9, and there was a few runners late, but we got to play defense on that one to give ourselves a chance. Yeah,
it's the little things sometimes. And obviously when you're scuffling a little bit, it seems like it comes down to the little things. But it's fuzzy what one run does. It just changes the whole feel of a game like that. When they score it that way, even probably makes it worse.
Yeah, both sides. That knowing that you didn't execute right there, and to give them a run, and then vice versa, gives them a little momentum, and it comes down to those little things, especially in those close games. And it was a tough day to score runs. I mean, The wind was really, I've never been, hitting a fungo for in and out. Like it was like hitting a knuckleball and then throwing BP, you're getting blown all over the place. So, it was definitely, a pitcher-friendly day that day, and we made some miscues, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, we talked with Adrian about it for the Friday softball game. Both games were awful, but Friday seemed like as bad as it's been, and you kind of got that on Saturday with the series shifted back because of weather. But throwing across the infield, third to first, is not. I mean, it's like that becomes a challenge, or whichever way the wind's blowing. But all those little things you just take for granted. I mean, and that really messes with the focus and just the mentality of the game, and it just makes it so difficult.
Oh, for sure. And it didn't really show up in the stat sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Scorekeepers have done it enough, that they're more like, yeah, that's probably not routine, but
I don't think anything's routine in this win.
Exactly, but they go down as hits, but they're plays that you got to be able to make, and it definitely changes the game, and there was a lot of outs that we left out there that we that didn't show up as errors, but we got to be able to make those plays, and it just like in those close games, it just contributes to it.
Zach Berg goes 5 2/3, 4 runs, 9 hits, no walks, 1 strikeout. Of course, he's coming off the injury from last year, but seems like he's starting. I mean, that's another good start for him, and starting to maybe get back to where he was, because I know he's a guy you have a lot of excitement about because of what you saw before the injury.
Yeah, he did. He threw well. He settled in well. His velo is down. And then that when a pitcher kind of starts knowing that, they starts getting in their head. I mean, he's had to, him and Cade, they've just get to a point where they've done a lot of throwing. They've had to do a lot of rehab throughout this whole last year process, and I think you just get a little dead arm. Your arm gets kind of tired, and but he's a guy that pitches, and so he'll give you a chance. And it was a good matchup for him, and with the wind blowing in, and his stuff right now is not able to strike a lot of guys out, and I think that was the key in that first game. I think we struck out 10, and they only struck out once or twice. So when the wind's howling like that, every ball in play is an adventure, from a ground ball to a fly ball to throwing it across, all those things, and they put the ball in play more than we did. And I thought that was just the biggest difference in the game. There, it was just tough to play defense that day. We didn't make them play defense as much.
You mentioned strikeouts, and that's probably been a problem. It's baseball wide. I mean, it's unfortunately part of the game I don't like, where strikeouts seem to be okay. And I know that's not how you coach. That's not how you like it. But that's kind of been a problem the last couple of years. You've got some guys who are it's all or nothing, and when they're not, they'll put up big numbers, but then other days they get a lot of strikeouts. It seemed like this team kind of was correcting a little bit, but kind of came back and bit you a little bit this weekend.
Yeah, and that goes down to who's on the mound too.
Yeah, it does.
That guy had good numbers. He's had a lot of strikeouts this year already, and we were doing a better job, and just like hitting's contagious and pitching's contagious, strikeouts are contagious, unfortunately too, and once a good pitcher like that, once he gets going, it settles them in, and they start smelling those strikeouts and making those really good pitches with 2 strikes.
Game 2, you lose 7-6. You fell behind 6-1 after 1. And credit Jake Campbell. He figured it out and gave you guys a chance. I mean, sometimes you give up 6 in the first, your day is over. You stuck with them, and he found a way to give you guys a chance in this one at least.
Yeah, that was a game. We competed really well all day. It was a tale of the last 2 days were completely opposite. The wind was more blowing out, and so it was more pitcher friendly, and we come out well. We got a big hit. Grant hits a double. I think we got one in. We got first and third, and then we hit into a double play. And their pitcher wasn't that sharp, and which was frustrating. But just get off to a good start. Pitching wise, well, they found some holes and a few miscues, and then. He had a chance to get off the field. Same thing all year. It was 2 outs. I think their 7 or 8 hole hit a 3-run homer that would just kind of stunned everybody, and that was a big boost to them. And but he ended up finishing that inning, and he didn't have a lot of hard hit balls. They just found some holes, but then they had a couple big hits. But he did. He settled in. He threw up a couple zeros, even in the 4th with 2 outs and a guy on third. Got behind. That was kind of the only after the first. He battled pretty well and gave us a shot, but he got behind 2-0 to somebody, and I thought he just kind of gave in and threw a fastball over plate, and the guy singled, which would have been, it was a big run at the time, because it was, I think that got it to 7-4, and but then Patty Walsh came in and threw zeros and gave us a shot, and it was one of those games, like, if we're not playing, it was a good comeback. We just kind of ran out of innings, and if we don't give up, the 6 in the first, obviously that's a chance we, feel like we should win that game.
Yeah, you got the 1 run in the 5th, and got you close, and then you got the other in the 8th. Had a chance, got a single in the 9th inning, just couldn't quite come through to get it tied, or maybe force extra, find a way to get that lead.
Yeah, Griffin Brunson actually played really well this weekend and had some good at bats, and he ended up having a big 2-strike, 2-out hit in the I think the 8th, and then Mason went first to third, and so we had first and third, 1 out, and we tried putting a safety squeeze on, and then unfortunately we went right back to the pitcher, and they get the out at the plate, or that would have tied it up, and it just comes down to those little things. But even in the 9th, off their closer, we got some guys on, and Brady hits one as hard as you can hit it, and you think it's going to be in the gap, and you look up and they got him shifted over into left center because of the wind, and it's just right at the guy. But we competed well on game 2, and it was good to see. And they were right there. We just story of the year, just coming up short on a few things.
You mentioned Griffin Brunson. Good to see him finish with some success, your shortstop, because he was in just an awful stretch. I think it was 1 for 30 at one point, and just nothing was going his way. And the Missouri Western Series, he had a good series, and you mentioned he kind of backs it up here and hitting the ball well. Good to see him kind of close out his career going out and hitting the ball well, more like you'd seen before. And just, boy, you just have one of those stretches. It's just hard to overcome.
Yeah, it was everybody was going through it at the time. But, the other big thing is he played great defense the last couple weekends. Yeah. I think there was a portion in the year where I think his offense was affecting his defense, and that's kind of we were, made some adjustments from there, getting some other guys in. But when he's confident, I think he plays short at a pretty high level when he's really going and making plays, and we've seen that the last couple of weekends, which was good, especially on a dirt field, and which we don't play on.
Yeah, as I said, not very often. You have natural grass, yeah.
And man, he made some plays, and Jenner K going to first too has helped the infield out a lot. He had a lot of picks this weekend.
Yeah, it's been a nice move over, put him there, and he's done a good job. Yesterday was just one of those days. It's the one you weren't in, and it just fell behind early. And unfortunately for Mason, who'd been pitching well, he's had a couple of rough starts here in a row.
Yeah, and another thing, I thought he pitched better than what his line indicated, and again they were giving things hits that we misplayed, and I think in the first inning. Our right fielder falls down. The guy gets to second, so lead off, a double. But that ball should be caught, and then I think he walks the next guy. But then we get a ground ball to the third baseman. We make an error, but have a chance to, he could have thrown up a 0 and then settled in and it totally changed the game. He battled to just give up the 2 in the first, but. They kind of got to him a little bit. They got confident, got going, and but he just – and then there was a big 2-run home run in one of the innings. But, we got to be sharper early, on the mound. And just defensively, all weekend, that plagued us. We gave up runs in the first, and it got them going. It got them confident. And then same thing, the story of the year, we're playing catch-up, and it's just with our offense, it's been a challenge.
Tiger Talk today brought to you by Adams Brown, where they do more than just run numbers and file tax returns. They work hard to become strategic allies. Adams Brown, strategic allies and CPAs. We will take our final break. We'll come back, talk about the final weekend of the season. Tigers hosting the Mules of Central Missouri. Pack the Park on Friday. When we return here on Tiger Talk, it's the Tiger Sports Network, built by Paul Wertenberger Construction.
That was another legend on 99 KZ Country. And yes, before that, we had a brand new artist. Your home for today's stars and the legends. We play real country. I'm Teresa Trapp. Weather, news, sports, it's all here. We're on Facebook, and there is a listen live link at hayespost.com. Dial us in on your radio at 99.5 FM. KHAZ, real country. 99 KZ Country.
We're back, our last segment of the program here, live from the Golden Q, talking baseball with head coach Jared Goodale. Pack the Park on Friday, obviously a gigantic task. A third-ranked team in the country, and they've been number one at a point this year, Central Missouri. They're a beast every year, and no different this year.
Yeah, they got a really good club, and, Central Oklahoma ended up clipping them a couple times, last weekend, but besides that, they're adding many that got them this year. There was a couple early, but they've been on quite the roll, and they got quite the, they're a juggernaut. They're a great program, and all three facets of the game, we got our hands full for sure.
Well, see what happens. Should be a lot of fun. Pack the Park activities on Friday night. Get on out. Should be a lot of fun at the ballpark. That always is, and hopefully, who knows, Tigers maybe pull off a stunner and find a way to take a game or two from the Mules. Coach, as always, appreciate your time, and go get those Mules on this weekend. man.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Roy.
Jared Goodale, coach of the Tigers. That's going to wrap it up. It's brought to you by Golden Belt Bank of Hayes and Ellis, Adams Brown, Taco Shop, BTI, Hayes Orthopedic Institute, and G&L Tire and Automotive. Again, a big thank you to the folks here at the Golden Q for hosting us this season. It was a lot of fun. Hope we're back here next year with Tiger Talk on the Tiger Sports Network, built by Paul Wurtenberger Construction.